we're building our preseason board right now. There should be 1,200 guys or so that are going to get cut at the cut down. We're up to like 1,400 reports. So what we're doing right now is we'll look and see who we're really interested in and who we're thinking about claiming at the cut downs. We're calling other teams too, so nothing's really going to catch us by surprise. We feel like we can really add some players and make this roster better, make it more competitive. We like our team now, but we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to upgrade, and we're going to do that by any means.
Even with all the turnover and changes that's happened for this Carolina Panthers roster over the past year with the new regime coming in, it sounds like they're still not done making changes to this roster, and it's still a work in progress. Assistant General Manager Dan Morgan was not shy about them monitoring the waiver wire and the cuts coming up on that 53-man roster, and talked about how he's excited about it. They're going to be looking to sort through the trash heap and figure out if they can add some gems to this roster to continue to upgrade it. And you may be saying, Dunk, like, what are you talking about? This is normal behavior. Why wouldn't any GM say the same thing and feel the same way? And I would say back to you, because this year, because of the NFL rule change to the offseason, things are going to be a little bit different, and it could get interesting for the Carolina Panthers over the next week. But we got all that and more in this video, and we're starting right now. What up, though? It's Aaron Duncan with the Necessary Bluntness, bringing you recap and analysis of the Panthers. So subscribe if you want to see more videos and stay up to date with news and updates, because we have to talk about these changes that could be coming. Because I talked about the new rule and the tweak to this offseason, because previously we know with the schedule change and them taking away a preseason game and adding a regular season game, the schedule for the preseason has been different. They made changes last year to only have 2 cuts instead of the cuts after every preseason game as normal. Now they tweaked it one more time, and there's only one big cut. Yes, a huge cut to cut the team down from 90 men to 53 men all at once in one day. And that day and deadline is coming up soon and very soon. Like Dan Morgan detailed, that means over 1,200 players will be getting removed from their teams and looking for a new home. That could be a shopping spree for the Panthers. We know they made some offseason moves, picking up Justin Houston, Troy Hill as of recent, but they still may not be done upgrading this roster. Even though he made it very clear that they're not really interested in giving up any more picks, they may can hear other teams out and see what they may be interested in our team and do some player for player trades. And who knows what could happen on the trade market, because August is typically a more busy time than people realize when it comes to trades. Last year, there were 15 trades in the month of August, including one for the Panthers. They gave up some picks, but they got Laviska Shenault last year in a trade around this time or so, and right before the season. And he's ended up going to be a little bit of a factor as a chess piece on this offense this year. For the NFL across the whole landscape, there's been 0 trades thus far this month, and I think it pretty much has everything to do with this huge cut that's coming up. A lot of people and teams don't want to make those moves just yet because they don't know what player is going to go where. Could they even hit the market if anything happens? So why would they trade for it? And it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be crazy coming up for this deadline. And I know they said they're not interested in giving up any more picks, but Scott Fitter is talking about being in on every deal. So I wouldn't rule anything out at this point, especially like I said, since we've seen them make trades with Laviska Shenault. You just never know what could be on the horizon. Things have been kind of hushed so far with the Carolina Panthers, but I think it's going to get real busy real soon. If you're like me, your summer has been crazy busy between traveling back and forth for training camp and trying to make videos. Eating right and staying on top of my fitness goals has really been tough. I mean, even when I'm working from home, I still am just sometimes too busy to even think about lunch. Well, that's why I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, a company called Factor. I mean, Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals super easy by delivering fresh, never frozen meals directly to your doorstep. So you can skip out on the grocery stopping and all the extra time it takes to clean and meal prep, but still get flavor and nutritional value. Don't worry about getting tired of your meals either, because Factor offers over 34 weekly flavor-packed, dietitian-approved meals that's ready to eat in 2 minutes. So you can just heat it up and enjoy it. Listen, I may have found my new go-to lunch and dinner solution when I'm feeling too lazy to meal prep, because I got my first box, and let me tell you about that grilled pork chop and cabbage. Chef's kiss. I mean, it's even flexible enough that I can adjust how many meals I want every week, or even skip out on a whole week when I'm actually feeling motivated and have enough time to get my meal prep out the way. So make sure you head to factor75.com or click the link down below in the description and use code UBSports50 to get 50% off your first box. Again, that's factor75.com, or check down below in the description and use code UBSports50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Bon appetit. The roster cut down is the only thing that's going to be different. In particular for the Panthers, the waiver wire could play a big factor for them as well. If you're not familiar with how it works, when this cut down happens, players are either going to be released or waived. So when a player is released, they immediately become an unrestricted free agent and are free to sign wherever they would like. When a player gets waived, they have to hit the waiver wire first, becoming an unrestricted free agent. When they hit the waiver wire, if you're familiar, for all my fantasy football players out there, every team in the league has an opportunity to claim that player on the waiver wire. When they make that claim, if it goes through, they'll be able to pick up that player on the same contract that they were under with their former team. For example, when the Carolina Panthers waived Marquand McCall, when the Patriots claimed him at that point, they picked up his current contract that he was under with the Panthers and just assumed responsibility for it instead of having to make him an unrestricted free agent, having to renegotiate another contract as well. Since the Patriots put in a claim for him, they had exclusive rights to him once they picked up that contract. McCall really didn't have much of a say-so in it. However, when two teams put in waiver claims, there's an order laid out by the league that whoever is higher in that ranking and pecking order, they get that priority. It's typically based on record, but right now with no football being played, it's currently based on the original draft order. Yes, so not the number one pick the Panthers will have. They'll be slated at number 9 in that waiver order. So just like a top 10 pick, the Carolina Panthers have a good shot of claiming guys that they really want and having one of the higher priorities in the league in terms of having their pick of the litter. So you may be wondering, like, okay, Dunk, you explained the difference between the two, but how do you determine if a player gets waived or released? Well, the rule is that if a player has accrued less than 4 seasons as a professional in the NFL, they're going to be waived. If they're older, have more experience than those 4 years, they're going to be released. So basically, younger players are subject to waivers, or older players that have more experience in the league are not. So judging by the words of Dan Morgan, with them being excited about cuts, which I've never heard a GM say, they could be very busy for this 53-man roster deadline. It sounds like they put in a lot of homework, and they said they've had over 1,400 player profiles, even though only 1,200 of them are expected to be cut by teams across the league. So they've been doing a lot of thorough research and homework on the players around the league and monitoring and making phone calls, and it seems like they're going to be getting busy next week when that 53-man roster deadline hits. And if you haven't learned anything else this preseason, it should be that the Panthers definitely need some depth, whether it's on the offensive line, the secondary, or especially wide receivers with all these injuries racking up. They're going to be putting their ears to the street, and even if they don't get big-time starters and contributors, they could be looking to upgrade guys that are fringe guys that are carried over from the Matt Rule era, or other guys that may fit the system a little bit better. We know there have been a lot of moving parts defensively for a Giro Rivero, so if some guys pop up from his former team or guys that he feels like may be a better fit, they could potentially put in some claims for those guys. As long as they make cuts to correspond and stay under that 53-man roster limit, they'll be fine. There's no limit on the amount of waivers you can put in, and like I said, with that number 9 slot, they're in prime position to get some of the players that they really want. I'm going to be dropping my 53-man roster prediction next week, sometime after the preseason game, but just based on the words of what I heard from Dan Morgan, I may not be as accurate because I cannot account for waivers and other guys on different teams that may get cut. I'll do my best, but we'll see what happens. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below to stay in the loop with all that when I drop my 53-man roster prediction, because there's going to be some surprise cuts on our team as well. So I'm going to give my little first swing at it. I want to get you guys' thoughts about it, so make sure you're subscribed with the bell icon so you're in the loop about all that. Without further ado, my name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. I'll see you next time. Peace.